Thank you so much. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Rawich, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. We are so happy to have all of you here with us here today at the internationally renowned Glimmerglass Opera Theater in Cooperstown to celebrate our 2025 award winners. Joining me on stage, we have the 10th Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, Tom Hamilton, the radio voice of the Guardians, I guess you know who he is, okay? 36 seasons, calling 3 World Series, countless memorable moments for Cleveland baseball fans, and earning him the 2025 Ford C. Frick Award. And we have with us Thomas Boswell, who spent more than 50 years as a tremendous reporter and columnist at one of the nation's preeminent newspapers, the Washington Post, earning him the 2025 BBWAA Career Excellence Award. And joining him is the president of the Baseball Writers Association of America, Bob Nightingale, who serves as a national baseball writer for USA Today. And I would now like to introduce the chairman of the board of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, Jane Forbes Clark.
Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon and welcome to the annual Hall of Fame Awards ceremony in this beautiful theater, home of the Glimmerglass Opera Festival. And we are so grateful to the team here for working so very hard to help us create this wonderful venue. We are going to begin today's program with the Ford C. Frick Award, which has been presented annually since 1978 to a broadcaster for major contributions to baseball. The award is named after a man who was a broadcaster, president of the National League, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, and a Hall of Famer class of 1970. Ford C. Frick was also instrumental in fostering the relationship between radio and the game of baseball. He was also the driving force, the inspiration behind my grandfather starting the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So I would now like to call your attention to our video monitor for a presentation about the 2025 Ford C. Frick Award winner, Tom Hamilton.
Tom Hamilton has been the soundtrack of summer for 35 years in Cleveland.
And we're underway at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario.
His energy and passion have inspired a generation of baseball fans. Hamilton got a start in radio in his native Wisconsin and spent 3 years toiling in the minors in Columbus, calling games for the then Yankee Farm Club. But then he got, as he put it, the call of a lifetime, landing a play-by-play opportunity in Cleveland. He debuted in the booth in 1990 alongside legendary pitcher-turned-broadcaster Herb Score. The club lost 190 games over his first 2 seasons, while playing their home games in cavernous and mostly deserted Municipal Stadium. But after the team moved into then Jacobs Field in 1994, a roster full of future All-Stars and Hall of Famers reinvigorated the downtrodden fan base who flocked to the new ballpark. Cleveland's pennant run in 1995 kicked off one of the greatest stretches in club history, featuring 3 pennants and 14 playoff appearances, with Hamilton at the mic for every big moment.
And yes, Cleveland, for the 14th time since 1995, you will have an October to remember.
Hamilton might be best known for his iconic home run calls.
He's done it again!
On those game days in Cleveland, fans wore t-shirts with his iconic phrase plastered across them. And it's fitting that since the fans their connection to the club more than any player ever could. He is to Cleveland fans what Marty Brennaman is to Reds fans, what Hawk Harrelson is to White Sox fans, what Joe Castiglione is to Red Sox fans. And now he fittingly joins those greats in Cooperstown.
For nearly 4 decades, baseball fans in Cleveland have grown up listening to the voice of Tom Hamilton. He first fell in love with baseball as a youngster on a farm in Wisconsin, before setting his sights on a broadcasting career in the 1970s and 80s. In 1990, Cleveland came calling and paired him with the team legend Herb Score. He earned listeners' trust with his objective accounts of the action and became the voice of a generation in Cleveland that enjoyed the most sustained success in franchise history. He is the only play-by-play voice in team history to work 3 World Series, calling moments in Cleveland that forever resonate for one of the game's most engaged fan bases. Greeting the fans with his welcome from the corner of Carnegie and Ontario at every home game, he has never failed to convey his genuine excitement for our national pastime. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2025 Ford C. Frick Award winner, Tom Hamilton.
Thank you so much. We have been overwhelmed, humbled, honored, and grateful. It is really hard for us to properly express how we have felt this entire week, this weekend, and really since the phone call we got on December 11th. And before we go any further, our eternal gratitude to James Forbes Clark, who is the chairman of the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, and whose grandfather, Stephen Carlton Clark, founded this incredible place in 1936. Jane, we cannot thank you enough for all you do for our game and for this incredible week. Thank you so much. Also, a special thanks to the President of the Hall of Fame, Josh Rawitsch, as well as Vice Presidents John Shostakofsky and Ken Meifert, who called us on December 11th with this incredible and stunning news. And to Whitney Horn and Rachel Kingham, and all of their help this weekend, and really since December. You have been so amazing. And to our own Francine Summers and Curtis Danberg of the Guardians, you folks have been incredible and have again made this so easy for all of us. And a special thanks to a gentleman you just heard, Joe Castiglione and his wife Jan. Joe, of course, went in last year as the Ford Frick recipient, and we have bothered them with countless phone calls. Jan, I promise Joe can now enjoy retirement. We won't bother you anymore. But your help has been beyond what you could have ever known, so thank you. You know, it's 912 miles from Waterloo, Wisconsin to Cooperstown, New York. And how this journey connected these two small towns is still very humbling, still very surreal. For me, as you heard Jane mention, the dream started as a little guy on our porch on our dairy farm outside of Waterloo, listening to the late great Earl Gillespie call those Milwaukee Braves games. It seemed like such an enchanted life. Of course, like every little guy, I wanted to be Hank Aaron, or I wanted to be Eddie Matthews, or be Joe Torre. But reality hit. And when I got to high school, the coaches were like, "Dang, son, you do have a backup plan, don't you?" Somehow, that backup plan has brought us all together for this weekend in Cooperstown. I want to thank the Hall of Fame and the Ford Frick Award Voting Committee for this incredible honor, and congratulations to fellow 2025 classmates, Thomas Boswell, the incredible writer for so many years for the Washington Post, and of course, the players that make this the greatest game ever, and their day will be tomorrow for enshrinement: CC Sabathia, Ichiro Suzuki, Billy Wagner, the late Dick Allen, and the late Dave Parker. And a special thanks when we were coming over here on the bus ride to come into a bus with Hall of Famers like Alan Trammell and Ted Simmons and Robin Yount and other Hall of Famers that are here taking this in today. Guys, you have no idea how humbling that is, and we are so grateful that you're taking the time to be with us today. You know, since that phone call on December 11th, I've taken some time to reflect and wonder, how in the world did this happen? First Major League Baseball, and now Cooperstown. Totally unthinkable when I look back at one of my first play-by-play jobs in Watertown, Wisconsin. I get called into the boss's office. He is so excited because he's got this great opportunity for me. And I'm thinking, yes, finally, Friday night football. I'm going to finally graduate to the big time, get to do the Watertown Goslings Friday night football. We know how big Friday nights are. No, instead, I'm going to get to do the play-by-play of the Jefferson County Fair 4-H competition. A 3-hour live broadcast. Now, some of you here may not be familiar with this event. Kind of the World Series of livestock competition for youngsters involved in farming and raising their cattle. They're all trying to win the blue ribbon. That's right, 3 hours, wall-to-wall coverage, steers, pigs, sheep, poultry, all being paraded in front of the judges trying to get that ribbon. Now you soon learn creativity, or maybe a more honest appraisal, you learn how little creativity you actually possess when you're describing farm animals for that long. Okay, folks, here's another steer. Very big. Black and white. Yes, this one too has 4 legs. And by golly, it's got a tail that's working, and oh no, we're about to have a deposit. You know, they pretty much all look alike, but by golly, every one of them is going for the ribbon. But of course, what the winning animal does not realize is that next week, that winner is the special of the day at the local diner. That drive back from the fairgrounds certainly had me questioning my career choice, and in no way was Major League Baseball, and certainly not Cooperstown, even entering my mind. You know, I've always said I've had the best job in the world. For 36 years, I have had the privilege of narrating the Cleveland Indians and now the Cleveland Guardians. For over 3.5 decades, Cleveland and Northeast Ohio has made us feel like family. You great fans have welcomed us into your homes, your cars, and yes, your back porches. It's a passionate fan base, and it has been everything that we could have ever wanted in raising our family. Thank you, Cleveland, for being our Camelot. We also want to thank the Jacobs family and now the Dolan family and everyone that I have worked with and become friends with down through the years in this great organization. You will never work for or with better people, and at the risk of forgetting someone, I'm not going to start mentioning names, but Wendy and I thank you again and again and again. And to the Dolan family, getting a major league job is like winning the lottery. But being a part of your organization has been the gift of a lifetime. This world needs so many more people like the Dolan family. Think what the Cleveland Indians and now the Guardians have accomplished. In the last 30 years, we've gone to the playoffs 14 times, the World Series 3 times. That only happens in a market like Cleveland with tremendous ownership, plus some of the finest front offices that have ever been assembled. Incredible managers and coaches. Outstanding people on the business side, scouts, and of course, the gifted players. We have watched a steady flow of phenomenal talent play at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. And one of our very own, CC Sabathia, takes his rightful place in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. To the late Herb Score, who welcomed me with open arms when I arrived in 1990, thank you. I learned not just how to call a game, but outside of my dad, no one ever gave me better advice. The greatest lesson from Herb came in 1990, my first year in the major leagues. Now back then we were the only team in Tucson, so every road trip was 2+ hours going to Phoenix. So what that meant was we were now listening for 2+ hours to one of Herb's 15 Frank Sinatra cassettes. Finally, the first cassette ends. I think, okay, here's my opening. And I'm quickly telling Herb, man, Herb, this is really a really good team. This is our year. My first year, of course. We're going to be in the playoffs, like I know. Herb gave me that look. And we are a blankety blank team. We are not going to the playoffs. But he said that will not impact us or affect us in how we call the game. Once that game begins, it's all about that game. And you may see something that night that you've never seen before in a major league game, and you may never see it again. And Herb also made sure to point out that that night's broadcast might be the one thing that one person had to look forward to the entire day. And we owe that one person the very best that we can do. Folks, that was the best advice ever. And I thank Herb for that. Then Herb said, hey, would you please stop talking and put in another Frank tape? Another partner was the late Mike Keegan. Now, if you're from Cleveland, Mike is still probably, in any argument, the greatest athlete to ever come out of St. Ignatius High School. He played college football at Holy Cross, back when Holy Cross was a national power. He spent 12 years in the big leagues, won a World Series with the Oakland A's, and he carried himself with the same grace off the field as he did on it. And even when Mike was in his 60s, he still had that incredible athletic ability. Mike and I are in the Metrodome, we're filling out our scorecards, and I noticed something move, I thought, on Mike's leg. And I said, Mike, you got a little buddy there on your thigh. Well, for those of you that have never been to a Metrodome, Joe knows that little buddy meant he had a mouse on his thigh. Mike launched out of his chair like he's returning a kickoff. He still had the amazing first step quickness, the athleticism that made him one of the greatest defensive first basemen in the history of the game. And without question, Mike was one of the finest broadcasters to ever work in Major League Baseball. And all of my broadcasters over the years, Davey Nelson, Matt Underwood, Jim Rosenhaus, thank you for sharing the booth and the journey. We spend more time together for 7 months than we do with our families, and I've been so blessed to work with such great guys. And now Rosie and I have had our longest tenureship of 14 years. And Jim, I am so grateful for your friendship. Thank you, pal. And to Terry Smith, the voice of the Los Angeles Angels, who gave me an opportunity to work with him in Columbus doing AAA games. Without that, none of this happens. of course, none of this happens without the love and support of my family. Going back to Waterloo with my parents, brothers, and sister, no one's ever had three better brothers than Dennis, Jim, and Robert, and our sister Mary. Dennis is here with his wife Colleen, their sons Spencer and Casey, Jim and his wife Cindy, two of their sons Grant and Angie, and Reed and his wife Julia, Robert, his wife Ann, their son Drew, and his wife Stephanie, along with son Ty, daughter Leah, and son Davis. You know, we had such great parents who taught us it's okay to chase your dreams, but whatever it is you do, you better work hard, you better not cut corners, and you better treat people right. And for those of you here that didn't know our parents, Frank and Teresa, they were very much extroverts. And no matter who we saw on the street, whether we knew them or not, whatever city we were in, we were constantly told, it does not cost you a nickel to say hello. What great advice that was then and still is today. And of course, Mom and Dad, like all growing up in Wisconsin, were huge Brewer fans, which meant they adored Bob Uecker. Now, Uke would always give them a shout out on the radio when we played the Brewers. Back in the 90s, we were in the same division as Milwaukee, so there were a lot of times they got to hear their name on the radio, thanks to Bob Uecker. Once I asked Bob, is it okay? Can I bring Mom and Dad up here? They would just love to meet you. Well, Bob being Bob said, oh my gosh, by all means, bring them on up. Now, I get Mom and Dad up there. I introduce them, Dad first to Bob. Dad, for the first and only time in his life, cannot speak. He cannot utter a word. Not Mom. Bob's saying some nice things about me, and then he tells my mom, I am so sorry that you can't listen to Tom do the Brewer games, and you're stuck listening to me. Mom doesn't hesitate. Bob, you know what? You take what you can get. Mom, you take what you can get. I am suddenly trying to usher them out of Bob's booth. I am horrified. Bob is doubled over laughing. Dad still hasn't said a word. And I go, Mom, why did you say that? She goes, you know what? That's what I believe. It was another example of our mother believing in one of her children. And we all miss Bob, but I am so grateful for his friendship, as well as all of the other Major League broadcasters I've been able to get to know down through the years. Meeting and getting to know these broadcasters has been such a gift. And to my friends, thank you for your friendship, your loyalty, your sarcasm, your reminders. Never take yourself too seriously, because you know what? Those are the best friends you can have. And we are so honored to have so many of our tremendous friends here with us this weekend, and we thank them. As well as our extended family, our cousins, the Brady's, they're from all over the country that they were able to get here, and we so appreciate that. To my wife, Wendy, thank you doesn't cover it. This great life that we have lived is because of you, your belief in me, and your belief in our family. You made the real sacrifices, the late nights, the solo parenting, the chaos. You did it with love, with strength, with grace. No husband has ever been luckier than me, and I love you so much, dear. Also, a quick lesson I learned the hard way, of course. When you're on a 10-day trip, you're staying in 5-star hotels. Your wife calls after spending most of the day in the ER, because that, of course, is when one of the 4 children decides to fall out of the tree, break an arm, because none of that ever happens if Dad's home, only on a road trip. When your wife calls and simply has to unload about the craziness of the day and just needs an adult to listen, that is not the time to say, you know what, honey, I had a tough day too. And of course, Wendy being Wendy, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm going on and on about me. What happened? I'm sorry. Well, dear, room service didn't toast the bun on my cheeseburger. You will soon learn that will be the most expensive cheeseburger of your life. And finally, to our children, Nick and his wife, Marissa, Kelsey and her husband, Ryan, their daughter, Lexi, Bradley and his wife, Brittany, and their sons, Liam and John Patrick, and our daughter, Katie, thank you. Thank you for being our greatest pride, our greatest joy, our true legacy. This weekend has been incredible, but you're the real miracle. You and our grandchildren are everything to us, and you've given us so many great memories, and we're so lucky to be your parents. And now you've become these incredible young adults. And boy, in these times of cynicism and negativity in our world, we look to you and a number of other young people here today, and you go, you know what? Things aren't so bad. We're going to be okay. And we're going to be okay because of people like you. And always know the two greatest words ever are Daddy and Grandpa. Every opening day, we always remind the fans, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. The roller coaster ride that is a baseball season every day for 6 months. For 36 years, we have been so blessed and fortunate to be a very small part of that journey in this great game of baseball. We remain so grateful for every inning, every mile, every friend, every laugh, every game. And now this truly is the final destination. I certainly do not feel deserving or worthy of this incredible honor. But wow, Mom was right. We'll take what we can get. Thank all of you. Thank you so much, Cooperstown, and thank you, baseball.
We will now turn to the Baseball Writers Association of